Hello and thank you for joining us on ERi-TV. This is English News Broadcast at exactly 10:30 p.m. here from the headquarters in Asmara with me, Salem Brahana. First, the top stars. Financial contribution to families of martyrs. Training to caretakers of intellectual and developmental disabled. Sydney, tens of thousands told to evacuate. Israel shuts down Hezbollah drones heading for Gaza rig. Government employees in Arasa subzone contributed 112,000 nafa in support of disadvantaged families of martyrs in their area. Commending the initiative the employees took to improve the socio-economic life of families of martyrs, Mr. Som Kiflamariam, administrator of the subzone, called on the public to follow the noble example. The government employees also conducted popular campaigns in connection with 20th June, Martyrs Day. Similarly, government employees in Saganeti subzone contributed 50,000 nafa in support of families of martyrs in the subzone. In the same vein, nationals residing in Brisbane and Gold Coast, Eastern Australia, contributed 8,480 Australian dollars toward augmenting the Martyrs Trust Fund, while nationals in Brisbane assumed responsibility to support 2 families of martyrs and pledged to support 20 families. Training to caretakers of intellectual and developmental disabled children in the administrative area of Maqarka, Dek Hannes, Dek Shahai, and Milazanai Logoan Saba subzone was provided. The training, organized in cooperation with the subzonal administration and the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare, was focused on how to take care of children with intellectual and developmental disability. Indicating that they have less understanding on how to take care of children with intellectual and developmental disability, the trainees called for opening school for the disabled children, pointing out that training will have significant contribution in identifying the condition of children with intellectual and developmental disability and take proper care. Mr. Abraham Hagos, administrator of the subzone, called on the Ministry of Education to address the demand of the parents of the disabled. Mr. Abraham also said that similar training programs will be organized in the other administrative areas of the subzone. Eleventh grade students of the Mbasambal School, organized as Hewnet Cooperative Association, encouraged fistula patients at Mandafara Referral Hospital. During their visit, the students contributed sanitation materials and clothing worth 15,000 nafa to fistula patients in the Southern Region Referral Hospital. The students expressed the objective of the visit was to encourage and extend moral support to the patients. Explaining on the cause and consequences of fistula at the occasion, Dr. Habta Haila Malekot said that fistula is both difficult and costly to treat and that creates emotional stress on the part of the patient. Made a call on the society to play due role in preventing the cause of fistula. Dr. Habta also gave briefing on the medical activities conducted at the center, on the treatments and the rehabilitation programs provided to fistula patients, and commended for the initiative. The Fistula Center at the Southern Region Referral Hospital is a governmental institution providing free of charge fistula treatment for patients coming from all over the country. Following a short break, we'll be back with international news. Stay tuned. Tens of thousands residents have been told to evacuate their homes in Sydney following torrential rain and flash flooding in Australia's largest city. Roads have been cut off with 18 evacuation orders in Western Sydney alone and warning of more to come. This is a life-threatening emergency situation, Stephanie Cook, Emergency Service Minister for the state of New South Wales, said. The area was hit by flash flooding in March, killing 20 people. Ms. Cook told a media briefing her warning came as the Bureau of Meteorology said up to 350 millimeters of rain had hit certain areas, risking flooding along the Nepean River. Sydney's main dam has also started to spill overnight, a further concern for the authorities. Ms. Cook said this was a rapidly evolving situation and warned that people should be prepared to evacuate at short notice. There had been 83 flood rescue by emergency service in the past 24 hours alone. She said expressed say the flooding emergency has been worsened by climate change and a La Nina weather phenomena. A La Nina develops when strong winds blow the warm surface waters of the Pacific away from the South American and towards Indonesia. In their place, colder waters come up to surface in Australia. A La Nina increases the likelihood of rain, cyclones, and cooler daytime temperature. Authorities in Israel say they have shot down 3 Hezbollah drones heading towards one of its gas rigs in a dispute area of the Mediterranean. Military officials say the drones were launched from Lebanon and were shot down by a combination of fighter jets and ship-mounted missiles. Hezbollah confirmed it had launched the drones in a short statement. Tensions have mounted between Israel and Lebanon over ownership of the Karish gas field. U.S. Energy envoy Amos Hoshtian is mediating between the two countries to settle the long-standing dispute. Israel says the field lies within its UN-recognized exclusive economic zone, but Lebanon has also laid claims to part of it. Hezbollah said it had targeted the rig as part of a reconnaissance fight. The mission was accomplished and message was received, the statement said. Last week, the group's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, threatened to use force to prevent Israel from operating the rig. Israel Defense Minister Benny Gantz said the Islamist group was preventing the state of Lebanon from reaching an agreement regarding maritime borders, which are critical to economy and prosperity of the Lebanon nation. Hezbollah's report attack comes amid political instability in Israel. West African leaders are meeting in Ghana's capital for a summit of Economic Community of African States, ECOWAS, where rising insecurity in the Sahel and questions over how to bloc will move to restore civilian rule following 3 separate military coups across the region are set to loom large. The meeting on Sunday in Accra comes as the number of armed attacks across the Sahel continues to rise with the spiraling security crisis. Fueled by a separatist movement in northern Mali in 2012 and a devolving security situation in the country's central region perpetuated by ISIS and Al-Qaeda, linked groups showing no sign of abating. The violence, which has spilled into neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger and the wider region, has displaced 2.5 million people in the last decade and piqued concerns of attacks spreading into the coastal West African states, with analyst Adib Sanit telling Al Jazeera there were at least 19 attacks in Ivory Coast, Benin, and Togo in 2021, up from 0 in 2019. The situation has been caused into further uncertainty by the withdrawal of French troops from Mali, where they had been stationed since 2013. In the country's pivot towards Russian mercenaries, critics have also attributed the continued violence in the region to poor governance following military coup in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea that have strained relations with the Western allies and regional organizations. At the ECOWAS summit, West African leaders are expected to assess efforts to nail down timetable, other guarantees for restoring civilian rule in the 3 countries, including possible sanctions. And now let's remind you the top stars. Financial contribution to families of martyrs. Trainings to caretakers of intellectual and developmental disabled was provided. Sydney, tens of thousands told to evacuate. Israel shuts down Hezbollah drones heading for Gaza. That's all with the news for this evening. Thank you for being with us.